Hello everyone, happy Sunday. This is Simon with AvaTrade, and we are starting our weekly webinar, your weekly trading plan. And welcome everyone, and a special welcome, of course, to new people. And for those of you who are new, just explaining two words what the webinar is all about. And as I always say, the title says it all. What we're trying to do, we're trying to get organized. We make a plan. And sometimes I repeat myself saying it, how the webinar started. Somebody asked about the homework because I mentioned it in one of the webinars that I did. So someone said when we're going to have a webinar about the homework, and that's how this webinar came along. And like in everything in life, it's good to have structure, it's good to have plan. And you probably read in some of the books, as experienced and successful traders say you plan the trade and then you trade the plan. So let's move on. This is me, Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager. I have experience over 22 years as a professional trader. I started as a proprietary trader back in New York. I traded in a few firms and did it for about 11 years. And after that, I moved away from prop trading, and I continue trading and mentoring, educating other traders. And currently, I'm very happy to assist our clients at AvaTrade. Agenda of the webinar, pretty much the same thing we do every week. We go through indices, stocks, commodities, Forex, and we combine it with a little bit of a big picture, what the global economy is doing, and of course economic calendar, and then we put it all together by looking at the charts and trying to make sense of what's happening. And these are our channels. Make sure to follow up. You'll find a lot of interesting things. We have Telegram, we have Twitter, and of course my favorite one is the YouTube channel. And I know a lot of you are watching YouTube channels, or even this webinar you're watching on YouTube channel, as sometimes you're not able to see live webinars, and we're posting on daily basis a lot of webinars, educational material. You have tutorials and a lot of information that's available for you. So I suggest that you subscribe and also click on that bell, and you will be notified when new things are coming in, and we updating it on daily basis. Of course, risk warning. You can find the full document at avatrade.com. And of course, this is just for informative and educational purposes. We are not suggesting any trades only here. Now, sometimes I like to take screenshots, so this is another one of those. And this is from marketwatch.com. You can find this article. It's a fresh one, and read it. It's very interesting. And the title is not so optimistic. New stock market lows ahead, question mark, of course. What investors need to know as Fed signals rates will be higher for longer. Okay, and again, just to bring it to simple level, for those of you that are new to trading and not really following what's happening, the Fed's raising the rates, and we just had another interest rate hike for 0.75%, so we're currently at 4%, and that's hurting a lot of stocks and the stock market in general. Especially in the past weeks and months, Nasdaq was affected because Nasdaq is pretty much completed with a lot of high-tech stocks, and they're very sensitive to the interest rate. Some of them are borrowing the money, and as interest rates go higher, it's more expensive, number one. And of course, a lot of them are selling abroad, and that high dollar that's being caused by interest rate increase is causing them to lose on the profit side, as they are making less money by selling abroad because of the expensive US dollar. Okay, so that's the title. Before we go to economic calendar, just like I said, we had the interest rate hike. There was a press conference. I was actually listening to maybe 90% of it. First, he just Chair Powell, he just made a statement, and after that, the questions started. And initially, the market moved higher after the announcement because they felt a little bit of softness, and then during the press conference with the questions and everything else, it just came clear that the Feds are really on the same course, doing whatever it takes to really lower the inflation, and the market went down. So that's what happened. Then, of course, we had the jobs report, the NFPs on Friday. They were higher than expected. Also, market moved. First, it sold, then it came back. And this week, let's go now to economic calendar. We have a very important event. And by the way, this week I took also the not only the high impact but also the mid impact events, because the high impact, there were pretty much just few of them, and this is also important here. So I'm just gonna scroll straight to this day, and then I'll go back to the beginning of the week. So Thursday, the CPI numbers are coming, and this is the most important thing as far as the inflation, because as I said a few times already, the Feds in their decision of interest rate, they operate by using three things: the economic growth, the employment situation, and the inflation. So of course, the main focus is really taming the inflation, bringing it down significantly. So the CPI numbers are the most important for them, and it's coming out on Thursday. So that's going to be a key point. And of course, after the NFPs and the interest rate, market will do whatever it needs to do. But on Thursday, this is the GMT time, 12:30 is going to be a key point. If we see some kind of a slowdown of the inflation, we might see move up on the market, just hoping that that will soften the Feds in their decision in the next rate decision, which comes up in December. So that's on Thursday. Now let's go beginning of the week. We have trade balances from China. It's important. We have a few speeches of the Feds. We have on Tuesday retail sales from Europe. Also a few speeches. I'm not really going into it. We have New Zealand inflation expectation as well. It's also important. You have also CPI numbers from China. Also a few other speeches coming out. Thursday, we mentioned already the CPI. This is the key data of the upcoming week. Okay, that's on Thursday. So we're going to have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday trading, and to expectations of Thursday. So it might be a lot of volatility. It might be choppy until we really get these numbers on Thursday. We have Bank of Canada governor speaking on Thursday as well. We have GDP numbers from UK and Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index on Friday as well. Okay, so let's move to the MT4. And we'll try to go through few instruments. What I like to do today is go through a few instruments that we mentioned last week and see some of the scenarios were very nice. There were some profitable situations there. I'll show you in a moment. And these are the things that we discussed last week. And let's move. So we have China. Okay, China, last week actually, the PMI numbers came not so great, and first initially there was a sell-off, and then we moved. There was a nice bounce to the upside on China, starting from the first. That's Tuesday, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday was a strong move to the upside. Okay, that's China, and as I mentioned every week, it's an indication what's happening as far as the industry, as far as the production, because as you all know, a lot of products are made in China in different industries. So that's kind of an indication what's happening in the production and so on. Now, with China, and again, I always say it, few things that connected to China in a strong way. So that's oil, copper, Australian dollar, and New Zealand dollar. Why? China is, as being a big producer, they are the big user of oil as well, of course, and other resources. So oil is being used by China a lot, so it's being affected by Chinese economy. Copper as well, especially in the construction. And Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar, of course, they call them commodity currency. They sell a lot of goods to China, and if China is doing better, that those currencies are doing better. So let's take a look first at those. So we'll start with crude oil. Take a look on China moving strongly on Friday. Oil finally was able to break through 90. Okay, we'll go to details when we get to commodities. I just want to show it to you, the correlation. So oil moved higher. Let's take a look at copper now. Copper, take a look. It went vertical as the Chinese index went up. Also went to 3.7, and Australian and New Zealand dollar as well. Let's take a look at them. Australian dollar went up strongly on the China Friday move, and of course New Zealand dollar went up strongly. So the correlation worked nicely on Friday with these instruments. Now let's take a look at the U.S. indices. S&P 500. After last week, after hitting the resistance at 39.24, we started this week with a down move. We tried on Tuesday to move higher again. There was a fake breakout. We closed lower, and we continued towards the end of the week to the downside. And this is Friday, and let's go into a smaller time frame so we'll try to understand what happened. This is the announcement of the NFPs. NFP announcement came, market sold, and then it came back. It didn't reach the level where the move started, but let's take a look on the daily chart. It did close on the high, not the highs, but in the green day. Okay, it's been a green day, but what I like to mention sometimes, it didn't close higher than Thursday. So Thursday's high was 37.82 and a quarter, and here we closed 37.12 and a half. So again, the strategy that sometimes the traders are using, the Thursday, Friday kind of strategy. Friday closes higher. Monday could follow in the same direction, and vice versa. Friday closing lower than Thursday, the direction is to the downside on Monday. This is why we didn't really close higher or lower. We closed within the candle of Thursday. So again, like I said, it could be choppy these days. Traders like the range, especially day traders, scalpers. They like to be trading in the range, trying to catch quick moves up and down. So this could be happening until Thursday, until we see the CPI data. So pretty much the same thing within all the indices. This is S&P. Nasdaq sold out heavily before Friday, and then Friday was a green day. And of course, Dow Jones, similar story. Out of three, Dow Jones is remaining to be the strongest, as you could see. Now, European market, DAX had a nice day on Friday, trying to actually break out of the 2 days of losses. And take a look, we are at the key level here. This is an interesting chart. DAX started the move down from this point here from 13,561.5, and then on Friday we actually hit that level 13,562.5 by $1. Again, I'm always excited when things work out. When you have the level and then it just proves to be right. Take a look. We didn't go any higher. We just hit it by one euro. We just went higher by €1, 1 point, right? So here, what's this coming week will bring? Again, depends what other indices are doing. We'll see what happens here. There's a chance that this level will remain a resistance, and then we'll sell a little bit. Or the second scenario, of course, if we start closing about this high of 13,561, 562, we might actually continue to the next checkpoint, which could be around here, 13,968.5. That was the level on August 16th from which we really sold. And of course, we're approaching the 200 moving average here, which is currently standing at 13,634. Also could be a resistance here as well. So Dow Jones at the very interesting point that could either run to the upside and break through this previous resistance, or really face a strong resistance and pull back in. We have FTSE. FTSE, it looks like it gapped on Friday, then it sold, and then it closed right at the highs of the previous day. It's a lot of things there, political, economical. They just also raised interest rate, as you know, last week as well, similar to US, 0.75 and 0.75%, and we're really sitting on this level around 7,000. Let's see how market takes that decision. It was already priced in, of course, so nothing major happened after the decision. Let's see what happens there. Now let's take a look at Japanese index, Nikkei. Nikkei, a bounce of 200 moving average here, and it could be on the way to retest this recent highs over here. We'll be watching that as well. And Nifty, take a look. We spoke about this guy here, and it is breaking records. This was the level right here on April the 4th. And then after all these moves up and down, we finally closed. This is the first closure above this resistance that we had. And take a look on weekly chart. We're really trying to break out of this highs. Take a look. This is the first attempt. We actually closed higher. That was in 2021, a year ago, 13 months ago. We closed at 18,462.5. Then we faced a resistance here 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. First one, November 14th, exactly a year ago, almost. Then we had 2 weeks trying to break through it again back in January. Then we had another attempt after sell-off that was back in April. And we're back there, and we closed higher than this resistance of April. Very, very interesting. Let's take a look at the monthly chart. It could be that the sky is the limit. We could be really flying from here. And I read a small article last week. I believe it was last week, yes. So Apple is planning to bring a lot of production to India, from China to India. I think they're diversifying a little bit. Maybe they're not really excited about China anymore. I don't know what's the idea behind it. And take a look. The Indian market, the Indian stock market is really, really hot. As everything else is selling, Nifty is making new highs. Very interesting to watch for this week. Again, there's nothing that we could predict here. We can just fly from here, or we can face a resistance and pull back in again. So our indication should be the high here of 18,596, and we'll take it from there. So I guess that's it with indices. Let's move to stocks, and we'll go through a few things that were discussed last week, see how things worked out. We spoke about Exxon and Chevron, and of course, with the oil prices going higher this week, or this past week, let's take a look what the oil-related stocks did, and take a look. This is Exxon. It opened with a gap. It sold a little bit, but it's very, very strong. Take a look at the weekly chart. We are up in the skies. And Chevron, similar idea. Very strong. Again, we could continue flying from here. We might be having some profit taking at these levels on both stocks, and maybe they're going to pull in a little bit. Interesting to watch. Of course, we should be watching what oil prices are doing as well. Now, we had earnings of Pfizer and Uber last week. Pfizer gapped up and then just give away the profits. And Uber, a similar idea. It gapped up on good earnings, and then it pulled in again. And I guess the initial move on the gap could be a resistance here around these levels, 30, almost 31. And the support is staying here around $27, $28. So we are in the channel on Uber. Now, I spoke to you about the banks. If you remember last week, we discussed the banks because there were some updates about Credit Suisse, that Saudi bank trying to help them out. They really were invested into 10% of the company by investing $1.5 billion. And we spoke about Citi and other banks, seeing how they're going to react to that. And initially there was a move up, but then they sold again. This is Citi. This is JP Morgan. JP Morgan is the one actually moving high here, trying to reach this resistance around $132, $133. Take a look. We are above all the averages, and it looks like 50 moving average is about to cross 100. So it's been super strong here. Actually, let's see if we reach this level of resistance on JP Morgan. Bank of America, it's hitting the 200 moving average, and it's actually having a hard time breaking through this previous resistance here that was back in August, and the high was 36.90. And take a look. We are hitting that level, which is also 200 moving average. Let's see what this week brings to the banks. And Goldman is the strongest one. It didn't pull in at all. We're really on the way to retest this high of August as well. And the high here was 358.37. So interesting how the stock will be acting at this level, because from here we had the strong sell-off, and we just went vertical from here, starting with this big move on October 21st. So we might see strong resistance here at around $358 on gold. So these are the things from last week. And we have Disney, the few stocks, of course, reporting earnings. You can research that and see if any of the stocks are interesting to you. Disney is reporting on the 8th of November, which is next week, and that's aftermarket. So let's take a look at Disney. What could be there? The stock's been, to say the least, not so strong, not so happy. We are sitting in these levels around 99, 100. Let's see, maybe the earnings will help it, but it's hard to predict anything. We are sitting on these levels, and this is a strong support. So it could be that we might go, if the earnings are good and the stock moves higher, we would face a resistance around 109 or 110. And if the earnings are bad and the stock is already sitting at the support, it could be priced in, also a possibility. Or if the earnings are really terrible, we might break through this 99/100 level of support and maybe go and retest lower levels over here. It could be 93, it could be all the way to this level of July 14th, and the low here was 90.13, so $90. So pretty much there are two channels. One is between 99 and 110, or 100 to 110. So you have $10 channel here, and you have one also $9 to $10 channel right below it. So I have two channels and the support right in between. Okay, so that's as far as stocks. Let's move to commodities, and we'll start with oil. I mentioned to you when we spoke about China, oil has been very strong. We are approaching the resistance here, and this resistance stands at $93, $93.25, let's say. And let's see what happens. Again, if China continues, let's go just take a look at this chart again. Friday was super strong, but like I said, we could be coming to the strong resistance that we might have a hard time breaking to the upside. So that also brings oil to this resistance right here on 93, 93.25. And it also could play a strong resistance as well. Now, natural gas, we spoke about it last week, and I mentioned to you, based on the analysts and the news, they said that Europe is experiencing warmer than expected weather, and there's a less usage of natural gas, and because of that, the price really went down. So you could see lately we've been selling on natural gas. Now, Friday was a strong day, but we did hit this resistance around, what was the high here? It was 6.5, and we closed at 6.45. As you could see here on the daily chart, this was a support, this was a support, this was a support, and then when we broke lower, it became a resistance, so we came back to retest it. We couldn't break it on Friday, even on this move higher, breaking pretty much closing the week on the highs. If you take a look at the weekly chart, the week closed at the highs, and we are facing a strong resistance. You could see it nicely here on the weekly chart. This is the week of October of last year, right? A year ago, 13 months ago. From here, we sold out. And of course, we had this crazy up moves on Russia and everything else. And we are facing that resistance again. Let's see what this upcoming week brings to natural gas. We spoke about copper. Take a look at copper. We are hitting this 3.7 resistance. 1, 2 attempts. We couldn't break it. We almost hit the same level here. Then we had a lot of accumulation, this narrow channel. If you remember, there's been a lot going on here. And then Friday, It just went, but we couldn't break through the resistance as of yet. So again, let's see what China does. Let's see what the general equity market does, and we might see a breakthrough it. And considering that this move happened very quick in one day, sometimes when this happens and there are no other conditions to support it, we could have a nice retracement move, or profit taking, whatever you want to call it, to the downside. And we have space. We can move from 3.7 to around here, 3.6, 3.59, and see if this level is holding, or we can just continue anything, and we can have another leg up. Again, it depends what China is going to be doing. If this, I'll bring it back again. If this move continues, then copper can easily move through it, through that resistance. Okay, so that's copper. Now, we mentioned last week also wheat and corn. If you remember, I mentioned to you that Russia said they putting on hold that agreement with shipping corn and wheat from Ukraine. I'm not really sure what exactly is happening there, because Turkey said we didn't really care what Russia says. Turkey is kind of in charge there, because they brokered that deal together with the UN. So if you take a look at wheat, initially that worked out. If you remember, I said that we're going to gap up, and we did. We gapped up Sunday night into Monday. Nice try. It failed though. We came right back. We closed the gap. I guess the deal is still on, or maybe other reasons are there. It didn't have power to move higher, but initial move was very nice. I'm not sure if it was the opportunity to enter, because it did gap. Okay, gapped up. And so that's wheat. Let's see what this week we are sitting in this 845 level on wheat, 845, 846. Corn has been kind of let's try to make sense of it. We've been sitting in the channel here for a while. Again, when I draw the levels, those are approximate levels. Nothing is in stone, right? But take a look. There's a lot of accumulation here. So let's be consistent here. We had the gap down, or the move down. We came back to retest, and we established a strong support here. This is on corn. Then we moved higher. This is our resistance at 699. And then we never touched the bottom again. So that's a strong sign in a way. And we keep on hitting the top. So now we're right in the middle of the channel. So if that's going to be some kind of threat on the supply, we might actually see a retest of the highs here at 698, and we might finally break through this level and maybe start trying to close this big gap over here. So again, we are in the channel. So far, it looks like the trader's been buying the bottom, selling the tops. And I guess they expecting to do the same, but the instrument doesn't come back to this bottom. So maybe the buyers will stop expecting it and really start stepping up and looking for higher prices to enter. Very interesting. In any event, a lot of accumulation, and it can follow with a nice move, because the longer the accumulation is, the stronger is the move. So that's corn. Natural gas we spoke about, crude oil, wheat, corn. If you remember, I said the bonus of last week was coffee and sugar. Sugar worked very nicely. We'll take a look in a moment, but take a look at coffee first. Coffee, after this fall, we said it might have a bounce. It actually did have a bounce, but it is starting to accumulate here. Starting to accumulate in the weekly chart. Don't see, but on the daily chart, it's really had a sell-off, then a move up, another red day, green day coming out of this level here, then sell-off on Thursday, and a little bit of a green on Friday. But you ready for this? Sugar. We spoke about sugar and we said that sugar, this is a weekly chart. I remember saying this, that we're hitting the bottom of this channel, and we might, if we come back above this level, we might see a move high. If you remember me saying that, you can go, I guess, and revisit that webinar. And it worked out perfectly. So closed on Monday. This is Monday the 31st. After being here below for a full day, full candle below the channel, we got back into the channel on Monday, and then we just continue until we hit the 200 moving average. This was a very, very nice trade. Of course, easy to say that, yeah, if you enter it, that's not what I'm saying, but planning is always good, okay? So I don't know, maybe some of you even took that trade. I'm not sure. Now, that's it with commodities. Let's move to the Forex world. And we start with dollar index. Now, dollar index sold out on Friday. Had a nice move. We did hold this 110 level. We made a nice move. Thursday high was, it looked very promising. We went to 113. And then Friday we just slid down. And what's next? Okay, so as you could see, that's where we stopped after making the highs. So this level around 109.95, so let's say 110 to 109.90, it stands as support. We had a brief breaking of that support. The very next day we closed above, so there was a fake breakout, and we might come and retest that again, or not. We might just turn around from here and go higher, and that will be determined, as I mentioned to you, on Thursday with the CPI data, which is going to be a very, very strong indication of what's happening with inflation, and we might see the dollar either come and break. It can happen before that. The dollar could come and break this level and continue lower. In this case, we might go and retest the 100 moving average over here. Let's see. Or we might come to this level here on 109. That's what our stop after the correction, and then resistance, and then became support and made a new high. Let's see, it's going to be very interesting. So with the dollar index, now as I mentioned to you when we spoke about China, New Zealand dollar has been very, very strong. I think Friday was the strongest move on this instrument. And of course, a lot of people, I think, are desperate for it to go higher, as it's one of the currencies that hit the pandemic lows here. And take a look, this is the third week we're going higher. Now we are hitting these levels here, so very interesting. Will we break through these levels and continue? Because as you see here, the move back in May started from this level as we created a new support after this level here. So the history repeats itself, and we're right back to pretty much the same levels here. We did try again. We tried a few days prior to that. That was on the 2nd. The high was here 0.5941. We tried again. The high here almost hit that level. Let's take a look. So New Zealand dollar is strong. All the majors, of course, moved. As you see, dollar index, it's obvious that all the majors went higher against the dollar. Euro had a nice move. Pound had a nice move on Friday. Dollar yen sold out, and dollar Swiss caught my attention. It had a strong move lower. Take a look. In one day, we raised 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. We raised in one move to the downside. There's some strength in Swiss dollar, as you could see. important to watch. And USD CAD, double impact, if you allow me to call it that. We have a weak dollar and strong oil. And again, for those that are not familiar with that, Canadian dollars are very sensitive to oil prices. Canada is one of the producers and sellers of oil. So take a look. We erased a lot of days. If you take a weekly chart, we pretty much, it's a third week down on USD CAD as the oil remain strong and move higher. So also another fact, we closed below this resistance here, the low 134.92. We closed about 15, 20 pips lower on the straight move, closing at the lows. So again, price action. If we see the week starting with building up below this level, that would mean a strong resistance or switching from support to resistance. We might see continuation. Two factors. If the dollar is continues being weak and oil continues being strong, that might be the case. We might continue sliding lower, maybe to these levels here, maybe retesting 100 moving average or the level over here. Or if dollar regains the strength and oil retraces to the downside, we might pop above this line again and start building support and maybe continue. As you could see, also a lot of accumulation in this channel over here. Interesting to watch what USD CAD will be doing. Okay, that's as far as the currencies pretty much. Now, going back to stocks, I forgot, of course, to mention Tesla. Tesla has been super sensitive to what's happening with Twitter these days. Okay, as you know, the deal is closed on the 28th of October, and Twitter stock is delisted. It's not a public company anymore, and it is another company owned by Elon Musk. And he's the CEO. He let go a lot of people, top management and employees. And there's a lot of talks, a lot of employees posting on Twitter, and a lot of attention to that. I'm not going to go into details. You can read about it. It's all over the news. But Tesla has been having a little bit of a hard time. It looks like we're back to retest the 200 levels. Here, take a look. This was on the 24th of October. We went as low as 198.41. And on Friday, we held about 200, not so high, 203.13. And let's see what's happening with Tesla. It's a great company. A lot of people are invested into it. A lot of funds are invested. A lot of hedge funds, and so on. Let's see how the whole story develops, and how the company goes, and how Twitter goes, and so on. It's a little bit complicated. So that's it as far as Forex. And before we go, let's take a quick look at crypto. Bitcoin. After breaking, we mentioned last week, after breaking about 20,000, we established a nice support over here. And then we are between 20,000 and the next level of 22.5. And I think, again, we might hit the 22.5 and start really drilling through it, or just go through it. Also, it depends. It depends what fundamentally is happening in crypto world. Based on all these actions, the excitement is not the same as it used to be. So the channel is tightened, and we have broken through 20, which we had a hard time for a while, and now we're holding above 20. So we need to break 22.5. Mentioned the same thing I did last week. And if we start establishing support here, we might continue higher. Otherwise, it's a ping pong. We might be hitting floor and ceiling for a while until something happens here. And Ethereum, Ethereum had a nice move and it's holding to its move. And let's see what happens in the crypto world. But like I said, you probably feel it as well. If you are trading cryptos, that excitement, huge swings up and down, didn't happen for a while. So it looks like desire for long-term investors is cooling. The traders are still there. The day trading a lot successfully. Some of them as trading the channel, especially in Bitcoin. Now, that's it pretty much, guys. I want to thank everyone for participating. And I want to wish everyone a great weekend and get some energy. Take care of yourself and your families. And I want to wish everyone a successful and great upcoming week. And we'll see you next week. All the best.